Welcome your hosts, Caddy Frank and Aaron Fitzgerald, as they lead discussions about substance use disorder and the journey to recovery. You're listening to Redefining Recovery, a recovery revolution.
Well, good day, good day, good day. And we are here. And boy, oh boy, is it going to be quite a show here, folks. I got two of my favorite people, one of my absolute favorite people.
Yay.
At Redefining Recovery, a recovery revolution here on AM 950. So without further ado, we will have Aaron do some thank yous.
Yeah, you bet. Thanks. It's nice to be back again.
Mm-hmm.
Special thanks to our generous funders, including the Patrick and Amy Butler Foundation, Otto Bremer Trust, the Sauer Family Foundation, the Hardenberg Foundation, alongside many other donors. Thank you very much. We would not be redefining recovery without you.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So we're super excited. Like Caddy said, we've got two really great people in the room with us today. We've got the Executive Director of Begin Anew in Ramsey, Minnesota, Justin McNeal, as well as the Director of Reentry Training Solutions, Rocky DeYoung. And we are excited for these conversations about peer mentorship and supporting folks with criminal justice background. But before we do that, Caddy, I need to know what's right with you.
Hey, what's right with me today? What's right with me? Well, I woke up sleeping so deep that, you know, when the alarm goes off and you've got dreams that are still going on in your head. So that led me to believe I slept well because I was not quite awake when the alarm went. Hey, I found it on the side of my bed. So I slept really well. I started a class yesterday, got some really fine students. So, you know, I'm just really grateful that I get to do what I get to do. And so that's what I'm grateful for. Yeah. Aaron, what's right with you today, dear?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, seeing your face, because I haven't been here for a couple of weeks. I've been pretty ill, and it's nice to be back. And, of course, having our special guests here today, it's nice to see your guys' face. Two of my mentors across the room from me, so it's a good day.
Yeah.
Justin, you were like one of my first mentors.
Yes. So what's right with me?
What is right with you?
What is right with me is I get to be on this podcast today. When you run an organization, you often sit behind a computer screen all the time. And so it is nice to be out and about and doing something different today.
Yes. Nicely done.
And me.
No, so Justin, you could ask Rocky.
Oh, yeah, that's how this works.
Did you see how that went around
thing.
the circle?
Yeah.
Rocky, what's right with you today, buddy?
Well, thanks for asking, Justin. Well, my tomato plants have gone nuclear.
Have they really?
Oh, it's just great. You know, last year they were terrible.
A little dry?
Blossom end rot, all that stuff.
Yeah.
This year they must be 5 feet tall.
Holy bananas.
They're just going nuts, which
Excellent.
is beautiful. I talk to them every morning,
Yes.
so they get that encouragement.
Aren't they fancy tomatoes, too?
They are.
You mean heirloom?
Yes, heirloom, some cherry tomatoes, some giant ones. I forget what they are, but they're doing well.
Wow. So where do you live and where are you going to put them on the boulevard so we can all just like take our pick at some point? Or do they all get canned?
They will not be available to the public.
My tomatoes. I loved them.
They are my tomatoes. Don't you take it? After last year's debacle with all of our heat and all those things, you must just be
great.
Just so fabulous.
He loves doing things from scratch, so he'll make pasta sauce and dough and like do a whole day pizza shebang.
Oh, nicely done.
Yeah.
And he has a lovely person, either wife, partner, can't quite remember, that makes awesome cookies too.
The best on the planet. Yes.
Yeah. Not to be mistaken. Thank you very much.
Right.
Testify to that.
Wow.
Yes. Well, let's get started with our conversation, my friends. Justin, you used to actually be at Minnesota Recovery Connection.
Yes, he did.
You want to give us a little bit of your background and how you became the executive director at Begin Anew?
Well, I just woke up one day and it was like that.
Excellent.
So, yeah, I actually got plugged in with Minnesota Recovery Connection when I was still in substance use disorder treatment. I was in a really long-term treatment center, and they started letting me leave during the day, and I had heard about Minnesota Recovery Connection down the road. And I started as a volunteer answering phones, building training manuals, doing telephone recovery support calls. And then that eventually led into an internship through AmeriCorps called a program called Recovery Corps. I did that for a year, and after that, I got hired on. And over the course of the next handful of years, I worked my way up from being a recovery coach to the director of justice-involved programs at Minnesota Recovery Connection. And I did that for, like I said, a handful of years, which then led me to get an opportunity to be the executive director of a nonprofit called Begin Anew, which is based out of Ramsey, Minnesota. And I am currently there in my first year. It's been a little over 6 months there. It's just crazy to think about.
Wow.
Turning
6
things
months?
around, yes.
Wow. That's really kind of crazy. It doesn't feel like that long.
Yeah. Well, and so Minnesota Recovery Connection is really near and dear to my heart because that's where I found recovery. That's where I learned all my skill sets. That's where I became a completely different person because prior to this, I didn't even know how to use a computer. So it's been a wild ride.
So I think I'll just add in before Rocky does his marvelous introduction that if it wasn't for Justin McNeal, I might not have my position at Minnesota Recovery Connection because we did trainings together for years. And there was many a times when this caddy did not know what to do with a computer because that's what it felt like to me, a computer.
Right.
And I would be sitting there and the class was going and something wouldn't go right. And I'm like, Justin! And he'd come scampering across the training room and save me. It was just, so your computer skills helped Caddy's computer skills, which brought us to this day, which is just fabulous. So again, thank you, Justin McNeal.
Absolutely. And, I think it's just one of those things that I love about recovery community organizations is that how you can get plugged into a place and it can lead to something like this. Because never in a million years, most people that have a job like I do get 4 or 5 years of college to do this. And I got to learn it all in the field. And it's just been an incredible life opportunity, and I've worked really, really hard to get there. So sometimes it just all still feels like a dream because so much time has passed, and I've just been plugging away.
Wow. Justin, I mean, it's as somebody who's watched you go from AmeriCorps trying to take a snooze in a chair. Sorry, just have to call you out just a little bit on that one. It's kind of cute.
I love my naps.
I know you love your naps. I know you're a nap man. Well, the other gentleman at the table, I have to call him the Silver Fox because if y'all were to take a look at him, you'd know exactly what I'm saying.
I spray it in.
Do
every
you?
morning.
Okay, well done. So we got a couple of minutes, Mr. Rocky. Talk to us. Tell us who you are.
36 years in the reentry field.
That's enough.
So, as I like to say, I started when I was 12, doing the math. 17 years as a volunteer at Moose Lake and Rush City when it opened. 8 years in Lionel Lakes as a program staff. 4 years with U.S. Probation as a reentry specialist. I think 6 or 7 with Montage Reentry Solutions, which is now morphing into reentry training solutions. So kind of haven't been in prison for a while, which feels odd, but focusing more on training people to do what I've done over the years and maybe hopefully avoid all the mistakes that I've made and have an impact.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think the whole purpose of the work that we do is to interrupt the cycle of all the consequences that can happen with substance use disorder. And it has brought on many a consequence in many of people's lives. I know I have a justice-involved background. It's a long time ago, but it still is something that, pops up periodically in my, current day life or as, we talk to folks and we work with folks and we figure out who they are and how we can help. And I think that's why, Aaron, you put together this incredible team to have us talk about this, is that we need everybody to know that if somebody's got substance use and they've got a justice-involved background, that doesn't mean they're a criminal, a felon, a bad person. It just means at a point in time in their life, something went sideways. And that's why we sit here and talk today about what recovery looks like and how we can get better.
Yeah, and thankfully we have gentlemen like this who are putting programs together for people with the justice-involved background. So we're going to take a little break here, and when we come back, we'll let these guys just start spewing out all the good things that they are doing in our community.
Thank you, thank you. We'll see you in a bit. Well, we are back, and we still have a full table of amazing human beings. And we are going to be talking to Justin McNeal and Rocky DeYoung, and we're going to be listening to some stories and see where those stories and those adventures come from. So welcome to Redefining Recovery, a Recovery Revolution. Justin McNeal.
Yo, yo, yo.
Tell me a little bit about you, baby.
In the house.
In the house.
That's right. So, a little bit about me. I know I shared somewhat of my story of how I knew Minnesota Recovery Connection and worked there for so many years. I am a person in long-term recovery, and what that looks like is in almost 8 years now, I have not used any of those substances that ruined my life. And a big part of that of my life, I would say, would be that I had a lot of justice involvement. Particularly from the ages of 15 to 30, I couldn't seem to figure it out, whether I was on probation, getting suspended, expelled, grounded, incarcerations, you name it, re-entering back into the community. I just kept getting in trouble, and it was all related to my substances. You know, some statistics that people don't know is that about 90% of people across the nation who deal with incarceration meet the criteria for substance use. And I would say over my 6 years of working in the field, in the peer support field, I have found that 75% of people in recovery had some sort of touch point with justice involvement. Mm-hmm. And I noticed so many times in my own journey, and I don't necessarily blame it on the systems, there just wasn't things in place for me, is I had every intention of changing when I got out, and I had no one guiding me when I got out. So I would get out, and then within hours or days be back in trouble, back using, back in jail, or on my way back to jail real soon after that.
Let me just ask you a question at that point. So it's not that you wanted to go back to that. It's not that that was your objective. Is that you just had nobody to kind of interrupt that cycle, right? Nobody there to just say, hey, Justin, hey, we got you, right?
Yeah. Well, and that's the hard part about a lot of county jails, too, is programming costs money, and so there isn't much offered while you're incarcerated. And so I started to notice service gaps when I started to get in the field, and I thought about what would have been great to have when I was going through that, and I didn't. Because for me, I finally got to a point where I got arrested enough times, got enough felony convictions that I got sick of it, and I was willing to do whatever it took to change. And that's very hard to do because someone can have that intention in their head and then meet a couple different stressors out in the streets and then go right back to what they know. And so I thought, wouldn't that be cool if we started building programs that could engage people anywhere in that process? Because when someone first gets in trouble, it's a terrifying experience. They have no idea this court language that judges and prosecutors are talking. What if you had peers there? Or if you had peers in county jails or meeting people the day they got out, if they had someone they could call, they could pick them up, bring them to treatment, bring them wherever they need, get them connected to resources. And so that's a lot of what I started to do in Minnesota Recovery Connection. We were at MRC, one of the first organizations doing peer support work like that and building out programs. And so when I moved over to Begin Anew, I took that same concept. There's a lot of organizations out there doing some justice-involved work. I wanted to create a recovery community organization that's its sole purpose, that we are training the workforce on how to work with this population, and that we have programs all the way from when you first get arrested till getting out of jail and returning in the community that will help support a person by connecting them to resources with someone who's been in their shoes, not necessarily every little step. If you could pair someone who is seeking recovery and is currently incarcerated with someone who is in recovery and has successfully navigated the community after incarceration, I think that you can do some really good things.
That's really amazing. It just reminds me of how people who are struggling with substance use disorder, they go to treatment and they get all this good stuff. Now, when you're incarcerated, you don't necessarily get good stuff, but you're incarcerated and you're away from your substance, for the most part. We know that that's not necessarily true. But then when you get out of treatment, just like incarceration, you're sort of dropped into the middle of the world again and like sort of fend for yourself. And what we want to do is bring through peer support and through your organization with Begin Anew, how do we meet people somewhere in that process so that we can say, hey, you don't have to do it the same way when you get out, wherever you're getting out of, because that's what the difference is. And it's just absolutely amazing what has been started at MRC that you get to bring to a whole recovery community organization and just interrupt the cycles.
And how did you get involved with this then, Rocky?
Well, when I was
Well, I mean, let me say that again. You've been doing this a very long
long
time. How
time.
did you and Justin become connected?
The silver fox and the not so much hair fox. Sorry.
Love it.
Check out the podcast, y'all.
Yes.
Well, I suppose a few years into working with Montage Reentry Solutions, which was basically just me,
Oh.
I had time. I was a fortunate situation where I could get paid to make a difference, and on the inside in prison and on the outside. So I started putting together a curriculum with the idea that maybe someday we could do classes, an academy or something for the general public or people having no idea that the recovery world was evolving like it was.
Mm-hmm.
And I got asked to be a third party to develop some curriculum around criminal justice stuff. And I just realized this is it.
Here's where the lights go on.
This is the whole group of people that are going to be doing this. And I don't have to try to find one or two individuals. I did find one individual, Justin, that I told him, you're going to be the guy.
Go-to guy.
Dump this knowledge on you. But we have the same vision to take the recovery world and the reentry world, which are meshing now, and educate them to learn how to function in prison with classes, what the first 90 days looks like when somebody gets out, what the system is doing and how it's set up, and just to navigate all of that stuff. So fulfilling for me, that's for sure.
Sure. What do you see, or did you see as like the biggest struggle when folks were coming back to the community?
Well, you get, I think you said it earlier, Caddy, you get dropped into the world out here, the outside world, and all of your status is gone. Your routine is gone. And if, 10, 15 years of that, and you're just, you're expected to be pro-social, get your driver's license, remain substance-free, all these things which you've struggled with forever.
And blend with your family as well and have that all go
Get your
beautifully.
relationships, you're a master at relationships now and all this sort of stuff. And it's unrealistic to expect any kind of success, if you want to use that word. So.
Well, what's so interesting is that we have trained many folks from the Department of Corrections. Justin is intricately involved in that whole process. We have this grant that we train people that are currently incarcerated getting out. And many of the gentlemen have come from, that have recently showed up are from Togo, which is a place up in northern Minnesota where I don't even know where it is because it's so far north. I went there, but I couldn't tell you how I got there. I just kept following Google Maps. But what's so interesting when you say this, Rocky, is that these gentlemen are coming down out of this program that they're part of, and they come into the office, and a couple of them came in like day or two after they got out. And they are just sort of like walking mystery individuals. They're just sort of like starstruck at the world, and they've been disassociated for a while. Now when they call, we're like, hey, take some time, get your stuff together, get a place to lay your head, maybe talk to a friend or two. But, they've had some interaction with us, but it's really interesting to see that drop you back into the world thing is just, it's almost vicious.
Yeah, it's unrealistic.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's very real at the same time. Yeah.
Just have witnessed. Yeah.
So the strategy has always been, and this is what we emphasize in our classes, if you can be doing pre-release work on the inside to get people ready for this, at least hear about it, that it's coming, then be there when they're released, and then stick with them for a while, you up the odds of somebody making through that by quite a bit.
Yeah. Can I tell you a story about a gentleman that I've been working with?
Yeah.
For about 10 months I've been working with him. He was up in Moose Lake incarcerated, and we became pen pals. And we didn't we didn't write letters frequently, but we did. And then when it got closer to his release date, then he was really interested because he knew that I was going to be there and helpful for him, right? And so he came out, and a week later he came into the office and we met, and it was amazing. The way that he opened up to me, and he even said out loud, like, I don't feel comfortable walking into this building because people are going to know. And I feel like everyone's judging me. And so really, really being able to make sure that he feels comfortable and not judged was really important for him to reveal things like, I've never even opened a bank account. Can you please help me? Because he's been incarcerated for so long. There's so many tasks that that he needs help with, and he didn't know that he could possibly go to somebody. So thank you guys for starting these programs because it's working. It's definitely helping. I mean, he's got a job now. He's looking at his own housing, and this is just within 6 weeks.
Oh, yeah.
He's doing so great because he knew that he could reach out and somebody could give him support.
Yeah, it's this weird thing that almost every person gets when they get out of a year or more of incarceration. They think they're walking around with a shirt that says felon across it, and that everyone's pointing their fingers and knows. And it's funny you say that because I've had that conversation so many times. Like, no one knows. And I don't mean to make this sound bad. You're not important enough for them to know. You just got out, right? And it's just fascinating to see the turnaround. And oftentimes, I have found I do very little when I work with people except encourage someone. Sometimes people have just never heard an encouraging word in their life. And like you said, you may be the first person that's shown up, didn't judge them. And that's what I like to say, too, is if you're going to do this work, Rocky and I express this a lot, is you don't get to pick and choose when you care. You're going to work with a whole host of different criminal charges. You don't get to say, I'm going to work with those people, but not these.
Right.
So what I have found is even if I think the crime is very heinous or awful, I put that to the side because I look that there's a person in front of me asking for help, and I see how I can best steer them to what they may need.
But we need to humanize people because I think the stigma around substance use disorder is bad enough. Then layer on that what you've got somebody who might have done something that brought them into the justice system. I mean, they've got kind of a double stigma whammy. And, you know, if we can just say, hey, you human, aren't you amazing that you've walked these steps? You're in a better place now, but how do we keep that going? So what kind of programs are you two developing, putting together? What's this begin anew, new looking like?
Yeah, what is that, Justin?
Yeah, Justin.
All right. So one thing I will say before we get started is a lot of this work wouldn't have happened had I not met Rocky. I think that anyone who's working in the field looking to build programming or advance their career, it's always good to have really good mentors. And getting connected with Rocky, what was really fascinating that I learned so much from him is there's so much similarity in criminal activity and substance use, meaning things that often push people to go back and use drugs. It's very similar things that push people to go commit crimes when that's all they've known. So they'll get stressed out, and some people they go use, or some people they go rob a bank. You know, it's wild how it turns out. The good news in that is a lot of the approaches can be similar. So at Begin Anew, I have started the company, the company was around for 3 years before I started, and it really wasn't doing much. It was pretty much sitting empty. They had only had a couple staff members, and so I took it over, and we've pretty much rewritten everything, our mission statement, our vision, our website, and we are a justice-involved specific recovery community organization. For any of you that don't know, for people who are certified peer recovery specialists, there's a training out there called forensic endorsement training. Rocky and I train this. There's a few other people in the community doing it as well. And it teaches a current peer recovery specialist how to work with justice-involved individuals. And so Rocky and I have brought that training to Begin Anew. We're also just moving into a new space in the next couple weeks that will have a training room, and Rocky and I are in the process of rolling out about 6 other criminal justice-specific trainings, anywhere from a couple hours to a couple days long. And so we really hope to be able to be a recovery community organization that has these forensically endorsed peers that are engaging people anywhere in their justice involvement, and then the second half of training the workforce to do this work, because it's almost It's almost like a trick, if you will, that saying we only focus on justice-involved individuals, most people in recovery are justice-involved.
Right. Yeah.
And
There's the trick.
Yeah. So you can really help a ton of different people anywhere in their life. They could be incarcerated. They could not be incarcerated. And it's just nice that people have a place where they can specifically do that and that all the resources are going to be tailored to that. So we're going to have connections to employment in the community, connections to housing, and just it'll slowly build to be more and more. Right now we're a rinky-dink little nonprofit with about 8 employees, so we've grown a little bit, and now we are just marching into the future.
You're not rinky-dink. You are up and coming and growing. That's what you are, Justin.
Yes.
Tripled in size in 6 months.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, dude, this is amazing. Well, you know what I think about when I think about this is that, kind of what's happening with the recovery community organization world is that we're all beginning to sort of find our little like secret sauce. So many of the recovery community organizations were sort of like this broad, we're going to help the recovery community. And now what we can do is we can sort of kind of find our space. And, what you two have been able to do with this justice involved whole thing is what you believe in, Justin, what you've always believed in, which has been your passion since day one. I don't think you knew it for a little while, and then all of a sudden, pow!
It's true.
And then you met Rocky. So, Rocky has been an incredible inspiration and education and mentor for you. So more about Rocky. So what is it that you've been instilling in this fine young man with his new organization, or his newish organization?
I would say, too, it would probably be wise to add about some of the trainings you've just developed that are coming out, some of the topics they cover.
Yeah, well, fortunately, we both have the same vision to educate not only PRS, but the general public as well. Because we get a lot of, we have corrections officers and different types of folks who come to our class. But just the topics we cover, too, mass incarceration, what is it? The systems, federal, state, and county, how are they set up? What are risk assessments? What's a high-risk person typically like coming out of prison? And that's where I focus most of my career, is in the high-risk area. I have over 12,000 hours of facilitating inside of prison. I know.
12,000.
It's got to affect me somehow.
Yeah, totally. Maybe that's where the silver comes from.
Well, there is a metal detector at the front door of my house. I don't know if that's part of it, but
protection in all ways.
my son's, all of his pictures are from the front and the side. May have had an effect. Yeah. So, group facilitation in a correctional setting, busting that out this week, could be my favorite class. So, how do you partner with a correctional agency? What's a class scenario going to look like typically? What should you say and not say? All things I learned the hard way because nobody was around to help me out with this stuff.
No, you're groundbreaking.
Right.
I'd drive up to Moose Lake. It was an hour and a half. Do 2-hour class and drive home and think about all the stuff I probably shouldn't have said that I could do different.
Right.
Yeah,
but what did you do? You drove up to Moose Lake an hour and a half, and you spent time with these people that don't get time.
17 years every Sunday.
Bless your heart.
That's nuts.
Well, and that's the one thing I like about us meeting and this mentorship and friendship we've had is I've cut off 40 years of 40 years of this learning Rocky had to do from scratch.
Right.
And he can instill that in me, well, let's not do it this way because when I did that, this happened. And
Right.
Yeah. And it will still happen.
Well, the DOC is still the DOC.
Yes.
And Department of Corrections, by the way. Sorry, we went acronym on you. We didn't mean to.
That's right.
And then there's working with men and women. So 6 years at Shakopee, the last 6 or 7 at Waseca, the women's federal prison. That's a whole different ballgame. Same material, just has to be thought about differently. And when you're a guy trying to talk about codependency, you have to be very creative.
Oh, I can see where there might be some things that come up.
Lots of stories
Yes.
about that. Yeah.
Interesting. How frequently are these programs going to be offered? Like weekly or?
Well, what you can do, shameless plug, you can go to reentrytrainingsolutions.com and look at the schedule. You can look at the material, what's available. And we're in the process of lining up trainings now. So there's a schedule there, both on my website and Justin's at Begin Anew. And as we start rolling these out, whether they're in person or virtual, you'll be able to tell and sign up for those.
So when's your first one, Justin? Do you know?
We were just talking about that today. We're going to be setting a date for the facilitation in a correctional setting. We just had a training last week called Reentry Employment Specialist, so we won't have that for a couple more months maybe, and that one is targeted on how you partner with people in the community to create direct lines of employment. So if someone has a criminal background, you could call somewhere and get them employed. Also, though, how do you gauge someone's employment readiness? Because not everyone is ready for the full-time career job. Maybe they need some skills, and so we teach people that. We do have our next criminal justice training at the end of August. There's only a couple spots left, and that's virtual, the 20th through the 23rd. And then we're going to be coming up with a calendar. A big part of the trainings, though, is I'm sure as Minnesota Recovery Connection finds, too, is the recovery world isn't rich. And so you have to be creative in finding ways to offer training. So what we're doing right now is trying to obtain grant funding to get trainings cost down because we have to make money. And at the same time, a lot of people aren't willing to pay what we're asking because
They don't got it.
first years of recovery, you're fixing your own life, right?
Yeah, yeah.
What about if I took the facilitating course? How would I be able to get into one of the prisons or jails and actually facilitate a course?
Well, that's a great question because I'll probably get 2 or 3 calls this week. Happens every week. Hey, I took your class. I'm working for an RCO. I want to go into prison. And I say, well, great. You and 100 other PRSs, right?
Right.
I said, so what do you want to do? Oh, I don't know. Well, you're not going to go in.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Got to come in with a plan.
Yeah.
So that's part of we build this into all of our courses, but how do you partner with an agency? What should you expect? What's realistic and unrealistic? And what is needed on the inside? So if you want to go in and just help people, that's a little too general.
Sure.
So if you go and have a meeting, they'll give you space to talk about what you'd like to do, but you better be pretty specific. So we talk about keywords, key needs on the inside, all that sort of stuff, so that you can build something to go and present.
So build the thing and then find the person to present it to.
It's a smart way to go about it instead of, we'd love to, but we have no idea what we would do.
I always joke, too, shut up and wait. So you build your program, you propose it, you find the right person, and then you wait. Sometimes a couple months, sometimes a couple years, and then if you keep persistently bothering them, it usually happens.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that's the whole thing about the recovery world, and that is there are so many people that want to help people. I mean, that's why everybody takes the class, right? That's what, I want to help people. I just want to help people. I want to save some lives. And the idea is that, to your point, Rocky, we need to have a little bit of, bring it in a little bit, bring it in. What is your passion that you want to bring to people that they can then focus in on? Because helping people is pretty broad.
And what I told Justin this when I first met him, every time I ran into the recovery world, when I was deep in the reentry world, it was people who wanted to tell their story, and that was it. Well, we don't need your story in that setting.
Right.
We need some substance.
Right.
Your story will find a place maybe here or there, but it's not as important. And I think it's pretty common in the recovery world where people tell their story, right? And then that's it.
Right.
Kind
And
of.
yeah. And that's not enough. So, it's just so interesting because I'm in a class right now on Zoom with a few people, and I say, introduce yourself. And then I have to throw my finger up and say, and I'm not talking about your story right now.
Right.
I'm actually talking about who are you? Where do you live? And
I was born at an early age.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I have to say, you know what? Why are you taking this class? Well, I want to help people. Give me a little bit more. So, the passion is there because we have the stories. We all have these many similar lived experiences that cross over, which is why we're sitting here talking, because many of us have had these experiences. So we're about ready to take another break, and we'll come back for our last session. So thank you for listening. Redefining Recovery, a Recovery Revolution. Rocky and Justin will be back. Woo woo!
This guitar needs 6 strings, 'cause without it there's no song.
How you like that slow jam there, Justin? You digging it? That's Sunset. That's a band in recovery. They'll be playing at the Walk for Recovery on September 21st at the state capitol from 10 to 3. Be there or be square. Ha ha.
Absolutely.
So welcome back. We are Redefining Recovery. I'm Erin along with Caddy, and today we have Justin McNeal from Begin Anew and Rocky DeYoung, the Director of Reentry Training Solutions. And now, folks, we're about to wrap up this session, but let's hear about some fun myths.
Well, I'll start, and then Rocky's really good at talking about this. One of the first few things that we talk about when we start our 4-day criminal justice training, when we're forensic endorsement that we were talking about earlier. So training targeted for peer recovery specialists who want to work with justice-involved individuals, is it's just a common go-to thing for people in the criminal justice world to talk about the criminal justice world, to make blanket statements. Mm-hmm. So when people don't understand something or don't like something, they'll say things like, we need more programming, or the systems are just broken. The whole system is broken. And it's really not the case. And if you have that sort of mind frame, it's not going to really help you in creating programming in that space. Because if you think about me trying to get into a prison to help people, and then I tell their staff, your system's broken, everything you do is wrong, you don't understand how to help people, they're not going to let me get close with a 10-foot pole.
Yeah.
And
you can stay in the parking lot.
Right.
Yeah, and I'll let Rocky, because he really lays it out well, talk about why the system isn't broken, because he used to think it was for a long time himself.
Mm-hmm. Well, I used the phrase, too, until someone challenged me one day and said, a couple questions. What's broken, and which system are you talking about? And I quickly shut up and went home and went, I need to rethink this.
I need some definition on this.
So we like that phrase, the system. So are you talking state, county? State, there's 50 different systems.
Wow.
County, there's 3,000, I think, 146 counties in the U.S. They're all different.
Wow.
Federal, probably the most similar system across 50, districts. They're divided into districts. So, and is it broken? I now say, and this is mostly for me, my own health and sanity, no, it's not broken. It does exactly what it's designed to do. I'm the one who needs to adjust, figure out how to get in the side door, get some good programming going on, and fill in those blanks, those services that Justin talked about earlier in his experience.
Well, and I think it's really interesting also is finding the right people. Because there are people who are very open-minded or see the potential, and then there are people that are like, they are caught up in the system. Justin and I have dealt with them, and we've seen a lot of change happening, but it's kind of being able to find that human, right?
Yeah, and what helped me is 8 years in Lino, attending morning meetings with the rest of the staff in the prison and hearing about how it works and what the challenges are for each group that's in there. It's like, whoa, open my eyes. This isn't just a simple, hey, they eat at this time and then they do that. No, there's a lot going on.
Yeah, and when it comes to programming as well, too, it's you get either end of the spectrum when you talk to people who don't really understand this is. We need to defund prisons or invest less money, and then at the same time, they want more programming in those facilities. Well, programming costs money, and so on and so on, and oftentimes the systems are so taxed that they're understaffed. There's no ability to even have programming because you need correction staff there when to do it. And, I also think, too, a thing that people forget is I always love sending criminal justice articles, I find, because you can always find it leans one way or another, tough on crime, easy or soft on crime. And so many people forget that there's victims. So that's a part of it too. I'll help anybody regardless of the crime. Big part of my work is ensuring public safety. So if I'm out there at the gates to freedom helping people integrate into the community, they're much less likely to reoffend, and especially if they're a repetitive violent offender, much less likely to hurt anybody else. And so people forget that. They say, let's just release everyone, let's just do this or that. There are people that are in there for a reason. And sure, there's people that are in there unjustly, or maybe they should have got treatment options, or this or that should have happened. Unfortunately, by the time they get to me, they're already in those systems, so I can't focus on how unjust that is. I have to focus on what can I do for this person now.
And where do we go from here? Yeah, and I mean, one of the things that we have worked with, that we're sort of working with our justice training that we do, thank you, Justin, for that support and building that grant that we have, is there are those who are in there for life for whatever reasons. But actually, they can be an enormous support to the system because they're going to do their time, but they can be the mentors inside. They can be the support system inside. So we can also think of those who maybe have had a heinous crime, but they're going to be there forever, but they can still do good. And that's one of the things that I have been learning from. Am I accurate, Rocky?
Yeah.
I would say too, Rocky, this is another really great myth that the class is just blown away with. Talk about the population that does the best out in the community, and no one ever sees it or guesses it.
Well, where are you going with this?
Well, we just talk about what crime do you think after they serve their time, when they get in the community, they tend to do better, and it's not the one that you would think.
It's probably your second-degree and first-degree murder. Homicide, yeah.
Sure.
And
it's
why?
usually a crime of passion.
Right.
There isn't a lot of criminal history. They did their time. They're mature. They got their vocational training. They did this. They did that. Their stats are really low when they come out. It's the repeat churners. That's your issue there. There's usually violence, and that's another category. The system categorizes violence quite a few different ways.
Right.
And if that happens to you, it prevents you from taking programming in prison most of the time. So we get excited about new programs like on the federal side, the First Step Act, but it excludes all violent criminals, and that's a wide swath. Wow. That's like 60% of the population in the inside.
Is that something that you're trying to work around now?
Yeah, I want people to go in and include everybody on their programming and understand why the categories are set up the way they are and what to expect when you start working with these individuals. So,
that's another fascinating statistic I didn't know, and it'll probably blow a lot of people's minds listening to this, is we have a phrase out there called nonviolent drug offenders. And up until a few years back, that wasn't a word. It was just coined by someone, and now everyone uses that word. And if you ask people, how many people, what's the percentage of nonviolent drug offenders in state and federal prison?
Yeah.
They'll tell you 70, 80, 90, everyone.
No.
It's actually 1.2%.
Yeah.
And so we have actually created policies and programs so much around this phrase that only target that group, and it only targets a fraction. And now, granted, every state, what they could, like Rocky said, consider violent. It could be something that's maybe not that violent, or some states consider drug charges violent, right? So there is little factors. It still doesn't bring that number up much, where it's general society thinks that our prisons are full of people that we've just arrested and thrown in there that are nonviolent, and it's only 1.2%.
I remember last year, was it last year or 2 years ago, midterms, our president announced that he was making things easier for simple possession marijuana charges. Federally, which resulted in 3 individuals in our state getting some help there, which I'm not against. I mean, great, but
it's not hitting the community, I call it, those in that community with equal levels of seeing who they are, what's going on. We're siloing people with all of these labels of charges, violent or this or that, which happens in the substance use world too. Oh, you're an alcoholic. Oh, you're a drug addict. You are all these things because you have this blanket name.
Sure.
Not helpful at all. Well, Justin and Rocky, this has been phenomenal. You'll be back.
We
You
will.
have to come
Yes,
back.
you have to.
We
There's
just
so
started
much
a whole
more.
other topic.
Yeah, yes.
Yes, thank you guys for joining us. And for those of you out in the world, please join in supporting our mission by becoming a monthly or annual donor at any level that resonates with you or by volunteering. We appreciate you listening to
Thank
Redefining
you.
Recovery,
A recovery revolution.
Adios.